that I won't tell because I don't want to offend some listeners. It's a joke about Chattanooga. The point is the punchline of the joke, whether or not you think the joke is funny. He laughs. The joke is entirely for him. And when I'm not ready to go as soon as the music starts to this show, our news director, Russell Stroud, has a panic attack. And I don't know why that is humorous to me. It is very humorous to me. And so I will continue to do that. It's just the funniest thing to me. And it shouldn't be as funny as it is, but have mercy. It's hilarious. So we have some things to get into. The phantom punch that I keep promising you to talk about from the Tennessee-Florida game, because I just have a lot of opinions on how it is that is. LSU, if you were checking us out on Facebook, like you're supposed to, Hot News Talk Radio, AM 1240 on Facebook, then you would have found out my opinion on LSU's new interim head coach and my opinions on him and his voice, which to me is all of a sudden, one of the best voices in sports. Right off the bat. So we'll talk about that. Georgia has some issues coming up for this game with Tennessee. We talked about Tennessee and all of their problems. Georgia's got some problems too. And we did touch on it a little bit, but I want to go deeper into what those problems are, because there are times when Georgia looks like the team that we hoped Kirby Smart could get them to be, and there are times when Georgia looks horrendous. And hindsight is 20/20, but maybe that Mark Richt decision wasn't the best decision. So we're going to do all of that. But before I do that, let me tell you about where you can reach us online. Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. We stream all of our local programs on YouTube live every single day. Also, check us out on Facebook. We're your leader in news, traffic, weather, and sports here in Chattanooga. Nobody, by the way, has more sports on the air than we do. We give you the NFL. We give you NASCAR. We give you college football. All of that. So that's Hot 1240, Hot News Talk Radio. Make sure to check us out on our website as well, hotnewstalkradio.com and noogaradio.com. And, of course, never fail to mention the TuneIn Radio app, because it's completely free, and you get to listen to Hot News Talk Radio on your mobile device. Simply search Hot News Talk Radio in the app, give us a favorite, and press play. You'll have Hot News Talk Radio everywhere you go. That's Hot News Talk Radio and the TuneIn Radio app. Listen like you mean it. So LSU hires Ed Orgeron to be their interim head coach, and this is, of course, to replace Les Miles, who basically underachieved at LSU for the past half decade. It's been a while since LSU contended in the way that you thought that they would contend for things, because they are talented enough to contend. It's not a situation where you just don't have the talent, like a Vanderbilt or a Kentucky, where you're looking at good coaches, I think good coaches, but they just don't have the talent to compete. You're LSU. You've got to compete. Kids go to LSU just because it's LSU. Fact. They go to LSU just because. So there's no reason to be underachieving in the way that Les Miles was, especially when you have something that you can point out easily as the reason why, which was that offense, which always seemed to fail and always seemed to sputter, and he never seemed to be concerned enough with it to fix it. That's a huge problem. And now you've got Ed Orgeron being the interim head coach, and he's being the interim head coach early enough in the season to make a statement. This guy's got a chance to stay. Okay, I don't think you can change LSU's offense entirely, but it would be nice to see it start opening up a little bit. And if LSU was able to win some big games, if you got Leonard Fournette looking like the Heisman Trophy candidate that he was supposed to be at the beginning of this season, because I'm telling you, if I went to Vegas and bet on Leonard Fournette to win the Heisman, which is who I would have bet on at the beginning of the season, I'd have lost all my money. He just hasn't looked like that guy, in large part because of the way the offense is run. But the other thing about Orgeron is this. The man is from Louisiana. And he is the Cajun head coach that we have always wanted that team to have. We just didn't know that we always wanted that team to have that coach. The man's voice sounds like the perfect combination between a man from the deep the deep bayou of Louisiana and Cookie Monster. It's the best combination. Like, maybe I'm just late to this party because I had never heard the man speak before. But my goodness. Once I heard him speak, I was like, it's perfect. He has to be the head coach now. Because nobody sounds more Louisiana than him. And him being in Louisiana, like, when you're in different parts of the country, depending on how long you've lived there and whether or not you have a respect for the people who live there, you kind of start to talk like them a little bit. And it's not even just accents, right? Like, Dave Chappelle had the joke many years ago about how fake people make you sound fake. You know, a fake person walks up to you and goes, "Hey, how are you doing?" And then your voice goes up, "Hey, how are you doing?" Like, just 12 octaves just because that's what happens. Ed Orgeron is where he is from in Louisiana, where people talk like that. And here he is already talking like that. This is not about to be a situation where we're getting discernible press conferences from LSU's head football coach. We are going to get some indiscernible interviews, I promise. We are going to hear this man speak and not understand the nature of what it is that he is saying. And it is going to be wonderful. I don't think anything makes me happier than the prospect of Ed Orgeron speaking and saying words and none of us having a clue what he's saying. He's just grumbling. And we have no idea what the man is saying. He's saying something about football. And that's all we got. That is all we have to go on. This is a coaching hire I could not be more excited for, and it has zero to do with football reasons. And everything to do with the fact that the man sounds like a Louisiana Bayou Cookie Monster. Just saying. You're listening to Hot 1240, Hot News Talk Radio, Clutch with Keon Rose. And I want to get into some Georgia football here. Because the thing that I find the most interesting about the Bulldogs is this. Their offense completely dies in big moments. Sometimes it steps up too. But I don't like the way that the pendulum swings on the Georgia offense. When it's on, it's on. Like when they were playing Missouri, a game that arguably should never have been close in the first place because Missouri's bad at football. When they were playing Missouri and they needed a touchdown to win, and they were about 25, 30 yards out, and Jacob Eason tosses a touchdown pass on 4th down. There was something about the way that offense was moving. I felt like they would get it. I was not surprised that they got it. And then there are other times where the offense isn't moving, and you're not surprised that it's not moving. That offense is inconsistent. And you know what? Say all the things that you will about Tennessee. Like, we know why Tennessee's offense is up and down. They can't consistently throw the ball downfield. When they can, look out. Florida happens in the second half. Georgia's a little harder to put their finger on. Mostly, it appears that Georgia can't run the ball consistently, which has been such a huge staple of Georgia football for the last decade or so under Mark Richt, that it seems interesting that all of a sudden Georgia can't run the ball consistently. And I mean, the one thing that you know about Georgia is that they always had the running back depth. You can go find anybody off the street, and if you put them in Georgia red, they could carry the rock. That's what it always felt like. And it doesn't feel like that this year. And there was some level of Georgia and Kirby Smart when they won in North Carolina in the fashion that they did. in which Nick Chubb basically ran over, around, and through the North Carolina defense that made it feel like, you know what, Georgia football is going to reach another level, and it might reach another level this season. And it may not even have been fair because, let's face it, Kirby Smart is a first-time head coach. There is no good reason to believe that he was ever going to take Georgia to high heights in his first season. He'll get there. I think he will. You know, I originally thought that was a great hire. I still think it's a great hire. Kirby Smart's going to get there. But the reason to believe that it was going to be this season came on the basis of how thoroughly they marched through North Carolina's defense. And North Carolina is a team that is considered by many to be an up-and-coming team. You know, like a team that has just been down on its luck before as a football team. And in the ACC, which, you know, not known for its football prowess most of the time, outside of Clemson and Florida State, consistently, you're looking at a situation where the rest of those schools tend to fade into the background. Virginia Tech can be good at times. But overall, the ACC, not a football conference. And here comes North Carolina, and they've been on the upswing as of late. And Georgia walked through. Georgia walked right on through. And more specifically, Nick Chubb walked right on through. But you can't rely on Nick Chubb all the time. Like, the guy just came back from an injury that arguably one of the more devastating ACL injuries I've ever witnessed. And Georgia can't move the ball very well without him. And there's a lot of things working against them for that. When they can't run the ball, they can't pass the ball either. And that's because Jacob Eason, and I don't know if I'm going to be offending anybody by saying this because I feel like it's an absolute fact, but Jacob Eason's not quite ready yet, which makes sense. You had Chris Goforth on this show in the summer, and he said an interesting thing. He saw Matt Stafford. When Matt Stafford was at Georgia, Matt Stafford was the best quarterback prospect he ever saw. And Matt Stafford didn't start as a freshman. And Matthew Stafford was a baller. If Stafford wasn't ready, how could Jacob Eason be ready? Because I'm sure he'll turn out and be just fine too. You hope. Because you've got this thing where with quarterbacks where you throw quarterbacks out before they're ready. And you can set them back with that stuff. Granted that Georgia doesn't have an awful offensive line. But, I mean, the guy just came out of high school. And I think we jumped him ahead to being ready. And because of how he looked when he came in the game against North Carolina, we jumped him to being ready. You had to give him a shot against North Carolina. But once he had that shot and he looked good, we kind of jumped him to being ready. So we jumped the head coach to being ready. And we jumped the quarterback to being ready. And neither of them are quite there just yet. But you have to be, because they're in a conference that's so wide open. Like, the expectation is that somehow, being in the East, you have to do it. Like, Georgia, this is a big game for Georgia. The ramifications being you really lose control of your own destiny in the SEC East, a division you can win. Like, I know the season hasn't looked great. The win against Missouri felt like a loss. The win against Nicholls State felt like a loss. Ole Miss actually handed you a loss, and a bad one, in a big way. And you can still win the East. Right? It's not a guarantee. Even if you lose to Tennessee, you can still win it. Because Tennessee has got Texas A&M, who started with this pseudo air raid attack and then just kind of became a real actual college football offense in a few weeks. It's one of the more bizarre things to have seen. And then you still got Alabama for Tennessee coming up. I mean, Tennessee could turn around and catch 2 L's back to back. And they'd still be the front runner. But at that point, it's not impossible to still win the East. Like, even Florida, to an extent, is still in it, but you're still looking for Luke Del Rio to come back, because I don't know if the first half of that game against Tennessee, if you're a Florida fan, was the best that you've seen of Austin Appleby. And I understand that people get very down on quarterbacks from Purdue because Purdue is not necessarily quarterback you. Purdue has given us Kyle Orton, I believe, and nobody else that I can remember. Purdue is not exactly a quarterback factory. So when you have guys that are Purdue castoffs playing in Florida, you know what I mean? You get a little scared. You get just a little bit worried. You got a Purdue castoff playing at LSU. I don't know if we've seen the best of Austin Appleby. We might have. And Florida still has got a chance to win the division. That's how wide open the East is. However, you're Georgia. You don't want to lose to Tennessee because then Tennessee gets to sit in that driver's seat. And something tells me that this team is going to get more formidable as the season goes on, especially when after Alabama for Tennessee, there ain't a whole lot left on that schedule for them to play. Like Tennessee is not playing a particularly difficult schedule. This is the rough patch in it, and they started it off by beating Florida without Del Rio and having a chance to face Georgia without Chubb. And that's the point of this entire conversation. That Georgia, without Chubb, can't move the ball. And there was something about the way that the Bulldogs started this season that you felt like, okay, maybe this Kirby Smart hire is great. He's going to start off hot. He's got a little bit of that magic dust, and then you see that it doesn't really work. That Kirby Smart is susceptible to all the stuff that every other coach is susceptible to. He's not the transcendent figure as of yet that you hope that he would become when you hired him. Right? Like you're looking for Saban 2.0. I was joking in the offseason that Georgia's got a little bit of a little brother complex with Alabama. I still do kind of believe that because who doesn't want that? Who doesn't want what Saban gives you? Saban gives you a guy with big personality, big character that attracts people to his football team and to himself, that makes your school look cool, and gives you national championships. Like if you're Georgia looking over to Alabama, that's all the stuff you want. So of course you hire Kirby Smart. But we'll see, because Kirby Smart doesn't have a lot of room for error here. He's a guy Georgia fans are going to have to be patient with, because you were dealing with a coach in Mark Richt who was not getting you national titles, right? Wasn't getting you the natty. But he was giving you 10 wins a year. He'll hook you up with that, guaranteed. Like it just was a guarantee. It was a fact of life. Death, taxes, Georgia's 10 wins. Every year. And so it's one of those things where you're just like, there was nothing wrong with the last coach we had. You just wanted more. And it's hard to argue that you're not just getting just a little bit greedy by swinging after Kirby Smart and hoping he'll fix everything that's wrong. Coaches have different philosophies. You cannot bring in one coach and think that he's going to add on to what the last coach was doing. He's going to change everything. That's how coaches are. They're controlling people. They have no chill. They don't know how to relax. They don't take what people give them. And as a result, of course, Kirby Smart was going to change up your whole offense. He's a defensive guy, but he's going to bring in another person who's going to change up your whole offense. And it may not work as well with the players that you have. So we're going to see how well Georgia can do against Tennessee. I think the importance of this game for Tennessee cannot be understated, because Tennessee can't go around catching 3 losses, and they've got A&M and Bama coming up. This is an important game for them. But if you're Georgia, you've already got a loss. Back-to-back losses bumps you possibly to the lower top 25 and maybe out of the top 25 entirely, depending on how harsh it is that these riders are grading this particular week. Because I think you're Georgia, you're a little bit fortunate to be sitting at 12. I understand that Ole Miss is a quality school, and that quality loss is what's going to keep you where you are. But they trounced you. It's not like it was close. You might tumble out of the top 25. if not darn near out of it. Especially if the game with Tennessee is close and it looks bad. If it's close and it looks bad and Tennessee still somehow beats you, you're tumbling out of the top 25. You're listening to Hot 1240, Hot News Talk Radio, Clutch with Keon Rose. I've got a take on Richard Sherman and his thoughts on the NFL, always controversial, and a phantom punch taken to the court of public opinion next.
Hot News Talk 1240 AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio with your chance to win $124 in cash and $124 in food every week with the Hot News Talk Radio 1, 2, 3 NASCAR contest. Hot News Talk 1240. All you have to do is guess who's going to be first, second, and third place in the upcoming NASCAR Sprint Cup race. If you guess it, you'll hear your name live Monday morning at 11:30. Then call AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio to win. Enter your guess right now at Rick Davis Golden Diamonds, 5301 Brainerd Road, Chattanooga. Diesel off-road technology, Saudi Daisy. For your four-wheel drive and truck needs, stuff and upholstery with premium rubber foam. Amigos Mexican Restaurant next to Staples and Hickson. Drink specials during the race. Cell Surgeon, the Broken Screen Doc. And Shooter's Supply, 4824 Hickson Pike in Hickson. Hot News Talk 1240. Enter your guesses now and then listen to the race live to win $124 in cash and $124 in food from Chattanooga's official NASCAR radio station. Hot News Talk 1240. I love NASCAR. Shooter Supply, any A-frame, 20% off, 10% off, 5% off, everything in the store's on sale. 5, 10, 20, September sales days. Shooter Supply, handguns, carry permit classes, ammo and gear. You'll get 5% off of firearms, 10% off of ammo and gear, 20% off of all handgun carry permit classes. Shooter Supply, September sales days. But you gotta get here now. It's ending soon. Shooter Supply, any A-frame. We're on Hickson Pike, right around the corner, right next to the Holiday Inn Express. Shooter Supply and Indoor Range. Shooters-range.com. Order online. Shooters-range.com. September sales days. Shooter
Hi, this is Mike at Wholesale Liquidation, Highway 58, next to Taco Bell, featuring over 6,000 square feet of unique and everyday wholesale items discounted to, get this, 50 to 75% off of retail, from new and pre-owned tools to chainsaws and auto accessories. Wholesale Liquidation, Highway 58, next to Taco Bell.
You want more business. You want to increase your bottom line. You want to spend less on advertising, imaging your business, and general expenses. You need Trade Bank. Trade Bank of Chattanooga. Trade Bank. Call now to get access to nearly 400 local businesses. Trade Bank. Call 877-2202. 877-2202. Trade Bank. You want to increase your cash flow, your competitive edge, attract new customers, and build a loyal customer base. You need Trade Bank of Chattanooga. Call right now. 877-2202. When you join Trade Bank, you'll get the benefit of free advertising in our monthly magazine, tradebank.com, emails, and mailouts. Join Trade Bank now and receive your Trade Bank debit card with trade credits to spend any way you want with our wide variety of Trade Bank partners. For almost 30 years, Trade Bank has been your voice for small business, a member of the American Bankers Association, and in good standing with you. Trade Bank of Chattanooga. Call now for a free consultation, 877-2202. That's 877-2202. Trade Bank of Chattanooga.
This is Mike at For the Record at Northgate Mall. We're the largest complete record store in town. We sell old and new vinyl records, celebrity posters, music posters, and we are the largest in town. Come see us.
Expect fair to partly cloudy skies to continue through the nighttime. Chilly overnight, though. Lows under the upper 40s to near 50. Now for your Friday, a few passing clouds, but still nice for the afternoon. Highs 72 to 75 for the weekend. More sunshine, a little warmer with highs by Sunday, 80 to 82. Did you know that you could purchase a home now with little or nothing down? Find your dream home in McBriar Realty. Call McBriar Realty at 706-657-2353 or McBriarRealty.com. And I'm Sports Gene 12 Chief Meteorologist Patrick Hoare. On AM 1240, Hot News Talk Radio.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
Hot News Talk 1240.
Hot 1240 Hot News Talk Radio with your Hot News Now update. A woman was found in a pool of blood, almost dead in Brainerd by police. Her husband was questioned. 27-year-old Carlos Del Pozo told police that he was in the bathroom and overheard his wife on the phone talking to another man. He became enraged and stabbed her in the neck multiple times. She lay on the floor bleeding to death. She's been taken to the hospital. She's now in critical condition. He's now charged with attempted first-degree murder and aggravated domestic assault. This week, the president vetoed the Justice Against Sponsors of Terrorism Act, which would allow Americans to sue Saudi Arabia for the 9/11 attacks. But the Senate voted to override that veto. Bob Corker was among senators who voted to override. A man is believed to have robbed the same house on Toccoa Avenue twice in just a span of a few days. Right after the first burglary, though, the homeowner put a surveillance camera up inside of his house and got a great picture of the burglar. We're going to post it on the Hot News Talk Radio Facebook page. Take a good look and call police if you recognize him. If it's going on in the Tennessee Valley, it's going on Hot 1240 Hot News Talk Radio.
Truex Jr. is off the pace and he is headed to the pit lane. Elliott powers around the outside. Michael McDowell pops the right front tire. Here's Martin Truex to the bottom. Blaney blocks him off too. Meanwhile, Chase Elliott went 4 wide on the back straightaway. They're side by side for the lead.
Hear it live on Chattanooga's official NASCAR radio station.
Hot News Talk 1240. The voice of NASCAR.
You're listening to Hot 1240, Hot News Talk Radio. Clutch with Keon Rose. Thank you. I appreciate it. You know that each and every minute you spend here, I hope you don't think it's wasted. Because we get to some really cool sports conversations. Make sure to call the Hot News Hotline, 423-800-8949. That's 423-800-8949. Now, there are some things that we need to talk about because Richard Sherman wrote a Players Tribune article, and he also did a video on the Players Tribune, which I just think is brilliant. I think Richard Sherman's a brilliant guy. First off, I think Richard Sherman is really good at what he does in terms of speaking his mind. And at first, he used that to get paid, which is the thing that I think originally made Richard Sherman that love him or hate him kind of guy. Richard Sherman became a guy that you love or hate because either he plays for your team, the Seahawks, or he opened his mouth and he doesn't play for your team. And he always opens his mouth. Like, I'm not a big Richard Sherman fan, but at the same time, if you're a defensive back in the NFL and you're really good at being a defensive back, what's the one thing that doesn't happen to you? People don't throw to you. So how do you get paid? On the metric of nothing happening near you. You talk about it. So Richard Sherman talked about it. But this time, Richard Sherman's taking his talking skills and parlaying that into negotiation. He's taking his skills speaking and turning that into a negotiating tactic. Richard Sherman is now one of the player representatives of the NFL Players Association. Different unions in sports. The Players Association in the NFL has been repeatedly getting its butt handed back to it. Like darn near constantly. The Players Union is out here losing all of these battles in the NFL. Right? Like, you can have a good union. As the way unions work, they're supposed to represent you. Right? It doesn't happen all the time. Like when you see what happens with the teachers' unions, a lot of times the teachers' union just kind of does whatever's good for the teachers' union, regardless of whatever's good for the teachers. Right? But typically, when a union actually works the way the union is actually supposed to, it represents those people for which our members are of and are a part of it and cannot negotiate individually. They can negotiate collectively, right? So that all makes sense. But what doesn't make sense is how, in the country's most popular sport, the players of the union continually get trampled over and over and over again. The NFL has a bad track record with things. And Colin was talking about it earlier on The Herd with Colin Cowherd, also here on Hot 1240, Hot News Talk Radio. It's a great point. It's that the NFL really does have a sketchy track record with this stuff. If you want to make the case as a player that you can't trust the NFL, you've got some strong evidence behind you. You do have the NFL and how the NFL has rolled with all this CTE stuff, and they just tried to bury it and they just tried to hide it, and they bullied people into hiding this story that even the small collisions of football cause brain damage and that you don't need to ever have in your career a major concussion. Even that, the NFL hid that. The NFL has had very sketchy investigations, very, very shady investigations, things that have not added up necessarily. The way the NFL handles suspensions, where Roger Goodell is judge, jury, and executioner, and in order to appeal the suspension, you must also appeal to Roger Goodell. Like, that doesn't work anywhere else, but it flies in the NFL because they agreed to it. But it's weird because this sport is so popular and it's generating so much money that you would think it's weird that the players aren't getting paid anywhere near what players get paid in baseball and in the NBA. It's not even close. And when you consider what NFL players put on the line and what NFL players sacrifice more so than in those other sports, it's truly bizarre and head-scratching. And I understand how the numbers and the economics of it plays out, right? Like, the NFL has just less games. But between the TV deals, the NFL makes more money off of TV than the other two sports put together. The NFL makes so much money off of television. There's no reason why the players end up as underpaid as they do. They don't have contracts that are guaranteed. And again, the logistics of it makes more sense this way. You don't have contracts that are guaranteed because you have these massive rosters. You don't have as much money to go around because you have these massive rosters. The rosters in a baseball team and in a basketball team are inherently smaller, and so there's more money to go around. But still, something is kind of off with how much it is that NFL players are getting paid. And the league doesn't take care of you unless you're a star quarterback. If your name ain't Rodgers, Brady, Breeze, or Luck, you don't get taken care of. You can kind of add Wilson to that list a little bit. You don't get taken care of. That's like 5 guys in a league filled with players. Linemen don't get flags for them at the same rate. Like, if you sneeze in the direction of Tom Brady, there's a flag. And that's not to take away from the greatness of Tom Brady. It's obvious why the NFL would want to take care of Tom Brady. He makes money. Football players, you can't see their faces. So when you know what they look like, you protect that guy. He makes you money. The face makes you money. We know what Andrew Luck looks like. We don't all necessarily know what J.J. Watt looks like. Like at all. We know what Drew Brees looks like. When was the last time you saw Vince Wilfork's face? Like, outside of the fact that he's a massive human being, if Vince Wilfork passed you on the street, would you know that it was Vince Wilfork? Probably not. Cordarrelle Patterson played right here at Tennessee. If you walked past Cordarrelle Patterson on the street, would you know what his face looked like? Because I'm telling you right now, I don't know what Cordarrelle Patterson looks like. The league is going to protect the top quarterbacks because those are the guys that make money. Right? So it may, like, the math of all of this stuff checks out. But part of it, too, is the players have been bargaining with the owners, and the owners have set this up so well. And it's perfect schema. It's perfect advertising. You force the players in a position to choose between the money that they feel they deserve, they are paid, or the rights that they deserve, that they feel that they deserve, that they have. And it's a lose-lose situation. Because if the players choose the rights over the money, they're still grossly underpaid. And those are the things that they should have had on the table in the first place. If they choose the money, they don't have as many rights, and the money that they're getting isn't enough compensation, and they're still underpaid. It's perfect. And if they ever choose to go for the money, the owners get to turn to the fans, because whenever we have these lockouts, people get tired of the players wanting this and wanting that and wanting this. And the owners turn to the fans and go, see, look, those are the NFL players. They're just being greedy. They should play this for the love of the game. They should be okay with accepting millions of dollars to play a game. Never mind that game puts them at risk health-wise, long-term, and the league buried it. Hey, they should just be okay with play for free. Really? How do you figure? Because I mean, maybe enlighten me on this one. But we always seem to side with the owners. Like the owners who should just be fortunate to be in the position where they are, where they're making billions of dollars. They build these massive stadiums. They get taxpayers to fund the stadiums. We pay for their stadiums. They have billions of dollars. We pay for the stadiums. But when they turn around and say the players are being greedy, who is it that we listen to? We listen to them? Nope. And I made that decision during the lockout that I'm going to take the players' side on every single issue. You cannot be rooting for billionaires in a battle of billionaires versus millionaires. Like the players are playing a game, and the owners are benefiting from the playing of that game. Period. Doesn't make any sense how we've allowed that to go on as long as we have. And every time, it works every single time that the lockout would just end if those players would stop being greedy. They've just turned it on the players every single time. And if you're the players, you just need to hold out regardless of what people think. But one problem with holding out, obviously, is the money. If you start running out of money, you're going to want to get back to playing football real quick. And every time they do this, like, look, there's a lockout coming. The lockout is coming 4 years from now. Please, everybody, save your money. But there's always going to be guys that don't save their money. And so I feel like this situation with the NFL is like the snake devouring its own tail. It's just going to continue going on forever and ever and ever. And I don't know that we'll necessarily see a conclusion to this that we particularly like. I'm just saying. But if they start trying to run in scrubs to play football like they did back in the 80s, I'm out. I'm out, y'all. You're listening to Hot 1240, Hot News Talk Radio, Clutch with Keon Rose. Tim Tebow. Story never dies, as is typical of things involving Tim Tebow. Tim Tebow is playing with a minor league Mets team, and his first at-bat as a baseball player, Tim Tebow goes yard. First at-bat, Tim Tebow knocks it out the park. And you know what? This is only going to fuel the Tebow fire. I've just come to the sad, sad realization that we are never getting away from Tim Tebow, a player who I liked in college, by the way. Tim Tebow was one of my favorite players when he was with the NCAA. Easily one of my favorite players. We are never going to get away from Tim Tebow. He's always going to do something that draws us all in. The issue that I find in us being drawn in to more Tebow stories is this. Tim Tebow hasn't played in forever. How is he still drawing us all in on this? You're listening to Hot 1240, Hot News Talk Radio, Clutch with Keon Rose. And we have the still introless Community Corner.
Hey.
Hi.
So today, I know that we were going to kind of talk a little bit about the Community Corner. Talk a little bit about kind of some of the things we talked about already. I just was transitioning.
So let's transition now.
Okay. All right then. Well, let's talk about this. So the Community Corner, we've been doing this for a little while now. Let's see if we can recount who we've had so far.
Just reintroduce yourself a little bit.
Oh, we're just starting from the beginning, scratch.
Not from scratch, but just you've now entered the theater of the mind. People who were listening previously and did not hear you before.
Oh, okay.
Just got to reintroduce yourself, just briefly.
Well, hey, I'm Jay, and I'm with the Clutch Community Corner.
Okay, simple.
I don't know.
Simple and short. So with the Community Corner, we've had, I think, a number of really great interviews. TPSN, ESPN. I thought that was a very informative interview. We've interviewed the Red Cross. What about the Community Corner have you liked the most so far?
I've really enjoyed just the opportunity to connect the community to the community, so to speak. I've loved the opportunity that we've had to reach out to these organizations that have had such great stakes in the community, whether it be supporting people with mental health, or supporting our troops, or supporting people in disaster relief, or supporting people and businesses who are trying to support each other. Just giving them a platform to be able to share with you, like what's been going on, and what to do, and how we can do it together. That has been helpful. How about you? What have you enjoyed so far?
I think the thing that I enjoyed the most so far is the information that I've learned that I did not know previously. When we did the ESPN interview, I learned a lot of things about suicide prevention and about who is most at risk for suicide that I was not aware of. I learned a lot of those facts, and that's something to be aware of. Like you can't change anything if you're not aware, and I really didn't know. And how easy it is to help people through the Red Cross whenever there's a disaster or something.
Right.
That just simple text to them can donate $10. Things like that I sort of knew, but I didn't know on the level that I did after we had those interviews.
I think I enjoyed our interview with the United Way. The United Way was sharing that they have different events that you can get involved in, and how they have, the different programs that they were running, and how they sponsor different profits or groups who need classes or need grant funding or that type of a thing, that it's really open to anyone who needs that support. And I thought that was pretty cool. I didn't realize that they were so extensive in their reach. I thought that was pretty well.
And being able to pass that information on, I think is particularly cool because, and I think we've mentioned it a few times on here, that the whole reason that sports can even exist is because of the community. So we kind of owe it to the community to take care of them.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the thing that I think is the most exciting, just as we look at where the community corner is going here in the future, I'm really excited to see how we're going to have the follow-up information on the Facebook posts. I'm really excited to see how we'll have Facebook Live at the different events that we do attend on behalf of the Community Corner. I'm really excited to see all the different places that we will be able to connect with moving forward. Some might be reconnections, as we've already kind of been discussing, but also the new connections For example, coming up here, we have Foster Care and Adoption Month, Awareness Month. I'm really excited to connect with some of the partners that we are in conversation with now about coming and sharing how we can be foster parents or supporting kids who are in the system. With over 400,000 youth going in and out of the system a day, that's a really big number. And I know I'm excited to talk about how we can help the lives of these kids. Our kids are our future. And schools are important, but homes are even more important. School won't matter to you if you don't even have a place to live that cares. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So I'm excited. I know we have a lot coming in the works. So I guess that's pretty much where I am today. Is just looking at the planning, looking at the calendar, and saying, man, I'm really excited. I can't wait for our listeners, for you to be able to hear and see where we're going.
And so I ask you to stick with us, listeners, who have put up with a lot, including the fact that I continue to promise an intro and there is no intro to the community corner. Like that is one of the biggest things to me, that I'm just like, man, I am really proving to be that guy that I'm just telling you, no, we're going to get you an intro. We're going to get you an intro. And we've been doing the community corner for almost 2 months now, and still no intro. I'm sorry, is what I'm saying.
That's an apology. That's big. That's big for a man here to apologize to you, our listener, the man, Keon Rose.
Oh, stop.
I'm just haggling. But I will say to you, our listener, if you are engaged or involved in a nonprofit or a place that you volunteer or work at, thing that you are doing for the community that matters to you, please hop over to our Facebook page, leave us a comment, leave us a note, let us know that you appreciate what we're doing, let us know that there's something that you would like us to check out. We're really excited to connect with you. You are the community, and so we are hoping to get you in our corner because we are definitely in yours. Thank you so much, and we're so excited to present to you.
All right. That is Jay. She is our community outreach specialist here at Hot 1240 Hot News Talk Radio, and she hosts the Community Corner every Thursday, little corner of Clutch with Keon Rose, where we engage in the community and the people around us. Now, Tennessee played Florida on Saturday, epic comeback win, etc., except one thing happened in the game that I find deeply interesting and fascinating, which is that we had basically a soccer-esque flop in the game, and it's time to take it to court. This is the moment from the game.
Well, we invite you to take a look at the Phantom Punch.
God, I want to apologize to Brandon Powell, okay? This is ridiculous. What, do we got a soccer game going on here? Two guys, watch Golden, number 7 for Tennessee, fake this. Ridiculous.
So Brandon Powell got suspended for a punch he did not throw because a player from Tennessee flopped. He threw his head back. He threw his body to the ground. It's a fantastic James Harden impression, if ever there was one, which is why now time to take this to the court of public opinion. I am your judge, Keon Rose. Welcome. Listen, sir, this is not okay. It's not acceptable behavior on a football field. The gridiron, where boys become men. And here you are, throwing your head back like you're some kind of European soccer player. Dirty. And a player got ejected over this? Really? Really? Where were the refs looking? Our friends, our beloved pack of zebras. Brandon Powell didn't even raise his arms. Exactly what it is. What are we looking at? He doesn't even raise his arms. I'm just saying, if that's that effective, I don't know why more players aren't using it. Clutch with Keon Rose. That is the court of public opinion. The Golden from the University of Tennessee. That is not Vols football. It is not. You're listening to Hot 1240, Hot News Talk Radio, Clutch with Keon Rose. Remember, it's not how you start, folks. It's how you finish. Stay clutch. I'll see you on this show in 24 hours. But if you want to hear two millennials talk, stick around. Next.